And we're on.
Hello, and welcome to Wine, Whiskey, and Words. I'm Daniel,
I'm Brad.
and if you've listened to our podcast before, we'd love to welcome you back. Thank you for joining us yet again. If you're new, each episode we try something to drink. Often it's wine or whiskey. Sometimes we branch out and try other things. It's really just whatever we find that we think is interesting in our world. Then we talk about.
Except for Malort.
Yeah, we're going to institute a no Malort policy.
Yeah, no Malort.
And then we talk about something interesting, just anything interesting we've found since the previous episode. Sometimes it's something really profound, sometimes it's slightly less so. And then finally, we talk about a topic that we chose the previous week, just whatever's on our mind. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's serious, sometimes it's a learning experience, but we just try to have a good time with it and explore. We do our best to prep and research if it's something serious and insightful. But, sometimes that doesn't happen, or sometimes it happens.
Those are the ones I prep the least for.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. With that said, let's begin. And I have a note here that says drink. So, Brad, take it away.
All right. So, I've been a member of, I get a lot of wine from everywhere, but I've been a member of Naked Wines for several years now. They're a company where they basically will take producers from all over the world and fund them. And so they have people that are called the angels, which are the consumers, that they'll take $40, $50, $60 out of our account every month. And when you want to, you can go ahead and buy wines. I've really enjoyed a lot of the wines from them, and I figured I'd pop a few of them today and see how they are. Now, some of these producers, some of them grow their own grapes, some of them source the grapes from other places. You have people, winemakers that have been in it for 10 years. You have some of them that have been in it for 30 years or more. So I'm not going to go into super depth as far as the individual producers, but I'll mention them, and you can always, look at them up online. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at the first one that's going to be on your right. This is a Cabernet Sauvignon, and this is by David Akiyoshi. Okay, so this one I did pull up a little bit of information about the particular wine, which when you've gotten to my age, you got to take your glasses off to see. This is a wine that they say is basically it's ready to drink now. It's 100% Cabernet Sauvignon. It's California based. So the grapes are from Lodi and Clarksburg. And then, let's see.
That's a really nice nose to it. It's almost got like a little bit of a cherry to it, I think is what I'm smelling most.
I couldn't wait and I sipped it.
Okay.
But there's a bit of tartness on the back of the tongue.
You can almost smell a little bit of like it's going to have a unique flavor. So I'm going to try it now.
It's very light. So I mean, if you're not gonna do it with a fillet, but I think grilled meats you can do it with, maybe skirt steak.
Yeah, it is very light. It almost has like a metallic taste to it a little bit.
Kind of get that a little bit.
Just a little. It's not
maybe it's like kind of herbs.
Yeah, that might be what I'm going for there. It's not got that really bold
No, not at all.
kick
Not at
that
all.
I would expect.
It's a little juicy.
Yes, just a little. Although I may have burned some of my taste buds off with that Thai food we ate earlier.
It's very possible. Hey kids, don't do spicy and big reds.
Yeah,
you want to do like a Gewürztraminer.
Yes, I chose poorly, but it was great Thai food.
You chose poorly. Is this when your face melts off?
Turn into the zombie or skeleton guy?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's try this next one. And the next one is also a Cabernet by F. Stephen Millier. So I think for the first year I was getting these wines, I kept thinking it was Miller. It's Millier. So he was winemaker of the year. This has an average rating of 94. It's going to be a little bit bolder red. And this one, whereas the first one said drink it now, this one said it would age for a few years.
Okay.
And this one will do a little bit better with the, steak. This one is from Lodi as well. 14.5% alcohol. And let me see the first one. The first one was 14.1.
So this one has definitely a different smell to it. I almost get a little bit of leather to it on the smell.
I get some like raspberry. And a little bit of like a cocoa.
Maybe that's what I'm smelling. It's all coming together differently for me.
I'm definitely getting that cocoa. The more I swirl it.
See, this is more what I think of when I'm going to drink a cab. Now this one is a little sweet, like a little bit of sweetness to it.
Yeah.
A little bit of that juiciness, but it's a nice, pleasant juiciness to it.
It's a lot smoother. It doesn't have the harshness.
Yeah, that last one had a little bit of harshness to it that I didn't love.
This is kind of like a cherry cola.
Yeah, it does. It does have that aspect to it. Good choice, Brad. This is
one that you could drink the whole bottle. It would be gone, and you'd be like, "Wait, where did it all go?"
Yes, this is a very easy drinker. This was Millier, David, Stephen,
F. Stephen Millier.
F. Stephen Millier.
Yeah.
I always find it so interesting when people are like, you know what, I'm just gonna go with my first initial, but I'm gonna use it. I'm not just gonna.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right, that was nice.
All right. The next one is by Tom Shula. No relation.
Okay. Yeah, we determined that.
This one I went with a Petite Verdot.
Okay.
Okay, which tends to be a little bit more of like a blending grape. You don't often see it as much as the main grape.
Interesting.
But it's also kind of like Cabernet Franc, where that's used as a blending grape. Once in a while, you'll see it by itself, or as the main grape in there.
What is it about the grapes that makes them more of a blending grape? Like, is there something? Like, is it just
they
a
tend
flavor?
to be a little bit richer.
Okay.
Like for instance, I mean, if you're doing like a Cab Franc or a Petite Verdot, you want to decant that for a while.
Okay.
To let the flavors get out. So Tom was actually one of those people where he hasn't been a winemaker all his life, but he just started it, like, I think about 10 years or so ago, 10, 12 years ago.
So really young. Like, I mean, young as far as the making of the wines.
So I believe he sources the grapes. And this is one that is said that you can enjoy it now or it'll improve within the next 6 to 12 months. And as far as, I don't see exactly where these are from. I apologize for that. I can find it out. But let's see. It's got like an earthiness on the nose.
Yeah, it's really subtle. I don't get a lot out of the smell of this one.
And that might be because I didn't open it.
Yeah.
When I originally wanted to.
I actually really like the tannic aspect of this. It's not overwhelming, but you can definitely taste them there.
Mm-hmm. And this has a bit more of that cranberry.
For sure. It is not there. The sweetness that was on that second one is gone. There's none of that.
No, and this is really like when I sip it and then I leave it alone, I can really taste that cranberry.
It's very rich in a very pleasing way. I very much like it. It's a close. I still think I like that second one a little better, but this is delightful.
And the tannins are high. They tend to be high on a Petite Verdot.
But sometimes the tannins can be a little too much. This is actually pretty. I mean, it's intense, but it's in a good way. So no, this is good call, Brad.
You're welcome, Daniel.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Brad. Anything else about the wine you want to share?
No, I'll say that with Naked Wines, they make it really easy. You can get. I just ordered a case of wine from them because they have deals all the time, and they're not paying me for this. This is just something that I enjoy.
But if you
But
want to, Naked
right,
Wines.
but I think it cost me like $107, $108 to get a case of wine.
That's really not
And
bad
these,
for good wines.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And they usually will throw in a free one or two.
That's one of the things I think gets lost about all of the, I guess, membership programs or however you want to look at it. People they kind of balk at, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money each month, or that's a lot of money. But when you think about going to the store, like the grocery store, or the liquor store, and getting a decent bottle of wine is going to cost you 20, $30. You
Yeah.
can occasionally find them a little lower on the price point, but they're a little harder to find down there. You'll get a lot of mass market down there at that lower price point. But when you think about what you're getting out of these memberships, they're just amazing.
And they really, their customer service is amazing
Okay,
because if you don't like a bottle, they take care of you.
that's nice.
This actually happened to me once when I was living in Jacksonville. I had ordered a case. It was actually like 15 bottles because I got like two free, and then I got this other one extra as well. So I got like 15 bottles. So delivery came, and there were like two really large boxes in the house, and I called them to ask them about it. Apparently, what happened was there was another guy and I found this out when I lifted up the other box and looked inside because the packing slip was there. It was actually supposed to go to this guy in Hialeah.
Oh, so you didn't even get what you were
He
supposed to get?
No, no, no. I got two of what I was supposed to get.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So because he ordered the same thing as I did, and when it came down to it, like I didn't get one bottle, that extra bottle that I had wanted, and so but otherwise everything was duplicated.
Huh.
And I talked to them about it. I'm like, what do you want me to do? And what ended up happening is apparently it would have cost too much for them to come get it and then deliver it. So I ended up getting both of those
So it's like
cases.
one of those Bob Ross happy accidents
It was
things.
crazy.
Nice.
It really was.
Very nice.
All right.
Well, something interesting. So my something interesting this week is only because I'm an English nerd. When I travel, and I was traveling this past week, when I travel, I spend a lot of time reading. Reading is one of my favorite pastimes. I just get so much out of it. My nose is used to be stuck in a book. Now it's my Kindle because my wife won't let me fill the house with books. But I've been reading classics like the famous literature from the past, and I read back to back Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Frankenstein. And what I was really struck by is I remember reading these when I was younger, and I missed a lot. A lot of the talk about good and evil, about humanity and inhumanity, and they were just delightful. It was like reading a brand new story because I've had so much more experience since high school. And if you haven't read them, I highly recommend reading both of those novels. They're great stories, really rich language, really rich storylines and characters. And sit down and think about them. Take some time to think about them and just enjoy them because they're really wonderful.
That's so sweet.
Hey, I'm a sweet guy.
Oh, that's true. Um, Not a lot has happened with me in the last week. The only thing that I'll say is that something that we had discussed earlier is that take the time to spend the time with your family when they're around. You never know if something's going to happen, and you can never get that quality time back. So while you're all healthy, take those trips, spend time with each other, and don't even think twice about it.
Yeah, I remember some years ago, my Brad asked me. We were out having a beer or wine or something, and Brad asked me, how's your grandfather? And I said, I don't know. I haven't talked to him. He said, you should really call him. And not too long after, he died suddenly, and I can't call him anymore. And I will tell you, there are days when it really hits me hard. So no, I think that's a great comment, Brad.
You don't think I was the harbinger?
No,
Okay.
I definitely
All right. Just checking.
no, I know
All
what
right.
that was.
All right.
All right. So our topic last week came about, and I guess I was rather selfish in choosing this topic because not everybody thinks about it from my perspective. When I was teaching my daughter to drive, I realized that I have built up a lot of prejudices around people's vehicles. The type of vehicle and the decoration of the vehicle and all kinds of aspects of the vehicle. I will look at a vehicle and kind of give a threat assessment and say, this guy is going to be a bad driver, a good driver. And then over time, you start to develop biases, and like you'll just like be like, I really want to see what kind of guy or girl drives a vehicle like this. So I've developed all these things over the years, and I guess it's my pastime when I drive around. So I decided it'd be fun to talk about what you think a person's vehicle says about them. And I'm going to dive in with something I saw the other day that really personified several of my points. I have a prejudice against giant pickup trucks. Not that it's necessarily always bad, but like when I see a giant truck, I think one of two things. Either you are headed to or from work, because often guys that drive big trucks, they're work trucks. Or you really want to impress people and think very highly of yourself, and others don't necessarily think very highly of you. What do you think, Brad?
Pickup trucks? I don't know. I think there are certain stereotypes with someone who drives a pickup truck. With sometimes they're right and sometimes they're wrong. Um, I I tend to believe you're not going to see, the businessman in a suit driving a pickup truck.
I'd agree with that.
Unless you happen to be former UF President John Lombardi,
or in Texas.
Yeah, or in Texas. But and to go to your point, I really never thought that much about people and what kind of people drove what cars.
So to me, it's like a risk assessment.
Oh God!
So I actually told me, I said, I know you've been told don't be prejudiced, don't insert bias, but like when you're driving, part of it was I've ridden a motorcycle. I got my motorcycle license when I was 18, and you started seeing certain vehicles as threats. BMWs at the time. I had a buddy of mine. He always joked. He's like, anytime you feel that your job is useless or meaningless, just remember there's a guy that installs turn signals at the BMW factory. And I want to be clear, if you're offended by anything we say about these vehicles, as Brad said, the stereotypes are not always true. And obviously, if you're offended, we're not talking about you. It's all the other guys. So don't worry about it.
I'm talking about you.
But no, like I used to really be on the lookout for BMWs because they had a reputation of not caring about anybody else. And now I think it's the Tesla drivers.
Well, and speaking of Tesla, this topic made me think. I didn't put a whole lot of thought into anything, but the new Tesla truck. I just think the kind of person that's driving that doesn't care about money. They don't care what people think about them. They just don't give an F about anyone or anything and just want to get the newest thing, and that's it.
So I actually, in my notes for this show, I wrote of Tesla, either they were once Elon Musk fanboys, because Elon Musk some years ago was really doing a lot of cool, innovative, high-thinking things, or they're probably one of the MAGA guys. They just don't care. They got a lot of money, and they're. But what's cracking me up is I think about all the videos on Facebook of the Tesla Cybertruck, which was so lauded as this just great, amazing thing, having to be rescued by actual real trucks, and it's pretty comical.
I don't see why anyone would get one. I really don't. It looks like the car that an old fashioned Android. It looks like kind of like a RoboCop. RoboCop would drive
Yes,
a Tesla truck.
yes, it does look like a Now, don't get me wrong, RoboCop was cool, but it was cool in like a kitschy, cheesy way.
I'd rather have Kit.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Cybertruck is kind of an embarrassment. It is probably the ugliest vehicle. Like I used to think that the Pontiac Aztek could not be bested, but
What about a Yugo?
a Yugo just looks like a little hatchback to me. Like I don't see much difference between a Yugo and a Volkswagen Golf.
Well, part of the thing is that people went from tipping over cows to tipping over Yugos because
Yeah.
they didn't weigh that much.
Yes.
So now I've got a question for you as far as what kind of people drive these cars.
Okay.
Corvettes.
Okay. So a Corvette screams to me midlife crisis. Like absolutely screams to me midlife crisis. I do think the newest body style changed that a little because it's a very attractive car. They moved the engine to the mid. It's a different car, but I still think if you're driving a Corvette, you know your wife's getting a little older, you're getting a little older, things aren't working like they used to, so you're like, oh, I'm gonna get a flashy car, and so people will pay attention to me still.
My mother and her boyfriend are Corvette enthusiasts and are in a Corvette club.
As I said, if you're offended by this, I'm not talking about you. So, I think most of my strong prejudices actually fall in more around things that you can do to your vehicle or things that people often do to their vehicles. For instance, I said like some things about the trucks. And again, my dad drives a big truck. He and he just uses it because he actually tows things. I know people who drive big trucks because they go mudding. That is rare. Usually people buy a big truck, they get it lifted, they get shiny rims, they get ridiculous tires that stick out beyond the fenders, and they drive them like assholes. And I've just noticed that like this is a trend, and most of these trucks have never seen a spot of mud or dirt at all, and they don't tow anything. So it's like you've invested an extra premium to buy something that's completely ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't understand buying trucks if you're not going to use them for the purposes they intended.
Yeah, I mean, who wants to get 8 miles to the gallon just because?
Hell no. So I got on this. I mean, I was searching for what your car says about you, and I came upon this page that was written I don't know however many years ago, but I thought it was pretty funny. So there's all kinds of different things said about different kind. So I'm going to read the first one that I thought to. So smart cars.
Oh, I forgot about the smart car.
You exist because we let you, not the other way around. Being able to fit in all the tiny spaces must feel great, and I hope you feel a sense of accomplishment. Know that every little girl will point as you drive by and say, "Aw, look how cute."
So what's really funny is I forgot about the smart car, but there are two other very or relatively small cars that came to mind. The Fiat, of which I really don't have a strong opinion other than probably couldn't afford a Mini, and the Mini Cooper, which actually the modern Mini Cooper is much larger than its predecessor, and it's a cute little car. Like I just think they're fun-loving people. I think
That's another like cult like car. The
Yeah.
Mini Coopers, because there's fan clubs like when you get a Mini Cooper, because I've known a few people that have had them. When you buy them, your information is given to the club, and you join the club.
Oh, really?
You join a club. They'll drive all around together. They'll do different events, kind of like a Corvette club.
Yeah, I think another vehicle that does the clubs is Jeeps. Jeeps are like a big club.
Well, the Ducks.
Club thing. Yeah, with the ducks, there's the ducks. And one thing I've noticed is like nobody just buys a Jeep. Like I've never seen a Jeep that just like somebody bought it and they're driving a Jeep. They like rip the fenders off and put something like really aggressive looking on it, or they'll get bigger tires that stick way out. They put lights on them and chrome and all these crazy things. But I don't think I've ever seen just like a Jeep.
I don't pay attention.
Yeah, Brad just drives with his eyes
I
closed.
just drive.
He just hangs on, closes his eyes, covers them.
That's why they call me the Luke Skywalker of the road.
He's just using the force?
No, I just use the force. I just go, I think I need to slow down. I think something's coming towards me.
Oh, Brad, I've followed you. I am well aware. I am well aware. So, what's interesting to me is another, just, I guess, a class of cars that I think screams to me, speaking of not paying attention, is the minivan. And I say this only because most of the time, I think, when you drive a minivan or like a Sprinter van or whatever, like you bought that thing to fill it with people, often very small people, noisy people. And your focus is likely to be on those people and less on the road. And when I was riding that motorcycle, man, don't go near a minivan. They're looking at baby and back. They're not looking at what's in front of you.
But I think nowadays you have so much of them with those built-in iPads and certain screens so that the kids have something to pay attention to. I mean, back then they didn't have the iPads.
Back when we had to have horses towing our minivans. I don't know. I don't know where it came from.
Stick to the English lit.
Yeah, I wasn't very good at that either. That's why I went into computers. So, another goofy. I told you about this earlier.
All right.
I was driving around the other day here in Florida, and I saw, and it's probably a trend, but I saw this full-size pickup truck with giant tires, and the guy had like put those like PA system, like curved cone microphones in the back of his truck so it was like horrible sound quality. It was just so he could be loud. And the front of the truck was lifted probably 3.5 to 4 feet higher than the rear of the truck. So it just looked, the guy was just looking over his hood at the sky. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen and just screamed to me douchebag. And I guess that's all I have to say about trucks.
Awesome. Let me read another one of these because these are funny. So you had mentioned to me, or you had mentioned earlier about BMWs.
Oh boy!
This says, I'm always wary of BMW drivers. You may seem calm and collected, but you've actually got about 10 parking violations on your record. You never use your blinker and think you own the road until a Corvette smoothly overtakes you on the highway. Get a cute bumper sticker and I'll let it pass.
Okay.
By the way, this is everything I'm reading here was written by Maya Korneyeva. Apparently went to UC Davis.
Okay. All right. Well, it's good to know that the opinions about BMWs are pretty generic.
They're universal.
Yes. Although I do think that in recent years, I'm more likely to see those behaviors from Tesla drivers, I think, than a BMW driver.
I think that then the next thing, like if we do something like this again, we should be like, what are your favorite bands that you go to concerts to say about you, like Fish Heads?
Oh yeah,
Grateful Dead.
Yeah. The Parrot Heads. What are they doing now?
They're all dead.
So another funny thing I think is the Dodge. The whole brand of Dodge. I don't know if there's something about driving a Dodge that makes you a horrible, rude driver, or if only horrible, rude drivers want to drive Dodges. But in my experience, they're all bad. It doesn't matter whether they're driving a little tiny shitty little like whatever Dodge or the big Dodge Ram pickup. Like they're swerving around you. They usually have got the ridiculously loud exhaust because why not? Everybody needs to hear your Dodge coming. Yeah, like I said, I have very negative views about Dodge.
I just want to get like one of those fancy sound systems, so that I've got a Toyota Corolla, but that I can play it, and it's going to be is like so like a engine revving, so that they think my engine is really powerful.
So when I bought my car, which I bought an Acura, and when I bought that car, I noticed that like the engine sounded very aggressive inside of it. And one of my friends said that some auto manufacturers will actually make it so that the sound system will play engine sounds in your car when you're driving, so that the engine sounds really aggressive. It's because that's something that appeals to a lot of people.
Wow.
I don't know that this is true. It maybe, I don't know. My notes on Acura were suburban middle class white male.
Let's see if she wrote something about.
Yeah,
Acura.
I'm very curious.
No, but she did write something about any pickup truck.
Oh, okay.
It says you're literally the most chill person ever. You're down to earth and down for anything.
The most what person?
Chill person.
Oh.
You're down to earth and down for anything, whether it's rescuing a broken down car on the side of the road or picking up groceries for a friend. You probably have a large dog that rides in the back and barks at pedestrians. Oh, she also wrote this about Dodge.
Okay.
I think you're taking the name a little bit too seriously. Zipping in between cars on the highway must feel fun, but it's also terrifying for everyone else. You probably go to the gym more frequently than most people and choose to, unironically, get stripes or flame designs on your car. Also, your headlights are way too bright. I can see you coming from a mile away.
It makes me think of the old, like, if you can't dodge it, ram it. Like, I think that's their attitude. Yeah, I think, yeah. So, let's see what else I got. I got my Jeeps. I got, yeah, I think this was a really short episode. I did not do a good job of choosing our topic this week.
So moving forward,
what else are we going to talk?
We're both going to select.
Yes, we're going to work together on this.
So I'm going to read what she wrote about Hondas.
Okay.
You're a millennial or opposing Gen X. You've probably resigned to live life 9 to 5, drink your morning Starbucks, and jog for fun. If you're a Civic driver, you think you're a street racer, but you're not. If you're an Odyssey driver, you're probably always the designated chauffeur of 3 to 6 other people. I'm sorry, but you chose this.
So I actually at one time owned a minivan. Largely, I used my daughter as an excuse, but largely so I could tow my friends around and go to tailgates and parties and things. So I can relate. I chose it.
All right. So what the hell else are we going to talk about?
I don't know. Talk about fantasy football.
Oh God. Yeah, my draft is in an hour.
Yeah.
My first draft, then my next draft is a half an hour after that. So, the first league is a money league, and then the second league is a bourbon league. So
the winner gets bourbon.
Yeah. So basically we have 10 people in the league this year in that one, and so it's the top 3 people will end up getting
all the bourbon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say I really had a lot of fun the year that I did it. I didn't understand it, and I think that if I had enough, close friends that I knew that were really into football, I could get really into it. But it does change the way you watch the games.
Oh, 100%.
Where, if you're just watching football, you might step away, you might go, take a phone call and things like this. But when you're getting those points, especially if you're playing for money, You take it very seriously. Every play. Like, you
Yeah.
want to know everything that's going on in every play.
And I'm very competitive, and so like I think the most leagues I was in 1 year was about 5. This year it's just 2. But the worst is last year was 3. But the worst is when you have like a player in one league and you're playing against him in another league.
Oh, yeah, that would suck.
Especially because I remember one game towards the end of the season last year where I needed him to get a little bit of points, but not too much, because it would screw me
Hmm.
in the other league.
Yeah. No, like I said, it's one of those things that I at some point want to get back into because it was a lot of fun. But for some reason, in recent years, I've just really struggled to watch football and get into it. I mean, I'll turn it on, and if I'm watching a game, I enjoy it. It's just following it. I don't know. I guess there are other things on my mind.
Yeah, you can always do like DraftKings, where
Okay.
you can. I mean, you can literally spend 10 cents or 25 cents
Oh, really?
for one particular um, day or game or whatever. It could be it could be choosing the games on Thursday or from Thursday to Sunday or Sunday and Monday or whatever.
Okay.
But yeah,
Hmm.
they make it very easy.
What I really used to love, we had a group of friends that would do. It's not. I guess it's not really fantasy sports, but we would do the college pick'ems, where like every
Hmm.
week you pick the college games. That was a lot of fun.
Hard
Like,
Rock does that.
oh, really?
Hard Rock has an app now, Hard Rock Bet,
Okay.
and you can do that.
Yeah, that made watching football a lot more fun, and you cared a lot more.
Yeah.
And maybe that would be a good way to get me back into it and just kind
Get
of
into it.
get into it. Brad, you just want me to come out and play with you?
Yes. Yeah.
So
I think I want to say that I think my favorite too was the F. Stephen Millier, the cab.
yeah, I'm gonna give this one more try. I'm gonna do the F. Stephen Millier. Yeah, I love that juicy finish.
Yeah.
Like that really juicy finishes on that
I
one.
like the Akiyoshi cab. My least is the Shula Petite Verdot, but I also think that needs more time, and so I'm going to end up revisiting that later on.
Yeah,
As I'm sure you're probably going to take the Millier cab home with you.
probably. But yeah, I will say this, and this is something I learned this past week. I was spending a good bit of time in a wine bar, and the uh, the guys really emphasized the need to let a bottle breathe. And I think it's something that, as even though I understand it and I know that you need to do these things, um, I don't always practice it. And when I don't, is when I have a bottle that I'm like, ugh. But if I leave that glass out for an hour and then come back to it, I'm like, oh, this is way better. And it's so cool the way that chemistry just happens so rapidly. Because when I think of chemical reactions, I guess I don't know, you would think it would happen because wine takes a while to produce and make, you would think it would take a while. But no, it's very rapid.
So I was doing a wine tasting over at a buddy's house. It's like probably 2 years ago. I can't remember, but I had brought a bottle. I always bring a few bottles, but we popped open this one bottle and poured it, and him and I both just did not like it. And I dumped my note. He's like, "Wait, wait, wait," because 15 minutes later, boom, it
Magic.
changed. It changed.
Yeah. And I guess I've always been a little too impatient to deal with and lazy, I guess, to deal with the like maintenance and cleaning of an aerator. I noticed you've got the aerator out.
This one is really freaking cool because that other one that I use all the time, I think that's like Venturi. That one's more of a pain because you're pouring the wine through it. But this one, I think it's called Vinotive. Uh, Vinotive. It makes it really easy because you can. Oh, actually, that's what I need to do. I need to use this with the Tom Shula. Just so it actually really sticks on there tight. I can
Oh,
hold that like
wow.
that.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So you want
I'll pour it in this empty one.
yeah. I think it still needs more time.
But this will accelerate it, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things I've enjoyed most since we started this podcast is it really has it's just like we were talking about with football. When you have something that you're doing peripheral to whatever it is. So
Right.
we drank wine before. We've
Right.
always had our good times with wine. But now that we're doing something where we are encouraged to think more about it and not just go, that's good. Um, it allows you to appreciate those subtle differences and those subtleties and those nuances of the experience.
Yeah. I
So.
completely agree. I'm going to leave mine there for a little bit.
Yeah,
I think it still needs some time.
It's still okay. It's just I'm curious to see how it pans out. I don't know that I've ever had a Petite Verdot.
Yeah. You
It's
don't
like-
see it that often. You really don't.
It's like somebody was those gigantic Bell wine glasses. I think they're called Bordeaux glasses.
Yeah.
They kept referring to them as Bordeaux glasses, and I said, it occurs to me that I've never actually. Well, I may have had one and I didn't know, but I've never actually had a Bordeaux. Like I've heard,
Really?
people talk about Bordeaux all the time.
You've had, like over at Cooper's Hawk, you've had the Lux Meritage.
Yes.
That's a Bordeaux style blend.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically like that's Cabernet, Malbec, Merlot, Petite Verdot, Cab Franc.
Okay. So a Bordeaux is a style of blend. It's not actually like a grape.
No, right, exactly. It's a blend.
I did not know.
In order to call it a Bordeaux blend, it has to be from Bordeaux.
I see. Okay,
It's
so
kind
that
of like Prosecco has to be from that area.
Okay.
Champagne has to be from that area.
makes sense. Okay. Yeah, see, I learned something new today.
Yeah.
Another thing I learned is that if you're drinking sparkling wines, this may not be correct, but if it's a Blanc de Blanc, it is all, or at least almost all, Chardonnay grapes that are used in it. I don't know if that's true, but that was what I was told.
Well, the Blanc de Blanc over at Cooper's Hawk is French Lombard and Chardonnay.
Okay, so maybe it's wrong. I don't know. It
tastes-
doesn't really matter. It
Did
tastes
it
great.
taste good?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, there you go. That's
Absolutely.
what matters. That's what
So.
matters. All right. Moving on to the next topic.
The next topic.
So-
that's you, Brad.
That's me. So the next topic, brought to you by my mother. So
Hi,
What-
Mom.
yes, we're going to discuss our favorite comedians, why they're our favorite comedians, what they've done that we've loved, whether it's movies or stand-up specials, anything that really brings them to our attention and that we think that you would enjoy as well.
That's going to be a lot of fun. Like when I think back, I mean that goes decades back, and
Yeah.
it's going to be a lot of fun. We're
Yeah.
going to have a good time with that one.
Yeah, I already know one that we'll both probably focus on.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine. So, well, that's it for this week. You got a twofer. You got our topic, and then you got a little additional discussion. So I think we had fun there. If you're planning to come back or stay with us, please stay on Apple and Spotify podcasts. We're on both. We have a YouTube channel, which is
Wine, Whiskey, and Words.
Wine, Whiskey, and Words. Look at that. We're consistent. We have an email address, which is
Wine, Whiskey, and Words.
no, our
No, Wine
email.
the email. Oh, the email. I thought you. I was thinking. Webpage.
Yes, we also
Wine-
have a webpage.
Wine, Whiskey, and Word
at gmail.com.
at gmail.com.
Yes, our webpage is winewhiskeyandwords.com.
Yeah.
It is a little behind because I have fallen down on the job. I plan on getting back on top of that. But winewhiskeyandwords.com, and we will link to other...
Hey,
Our
Dad,
other-
this isn't recording.
Did you? You liar. Anyway, Brad, you're fired. Uh, no. Anyway, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we look forward to you next time. Come have a drink with us.
And feel free to email, comment on the podcast, comment on the Facebook page, topics that you would like to see discussed, as long as it's not political. As long as it's not political.
As long as it's not political.
Thank you.
Leave that to me.
Cheers.
Cheers.